Johnny Dim scored us some advance tickets to the new movie Shazam, starring Zach Levi and Mark Strong.
Is that his name?
Yeah, Zach Levi. Or Levy. It might be Levy.
Oh, it's Levy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was like, do you mean Zach Braff? Because that didn't sound right.
Okay, why are the jeans Levi's and the dudes Levies every time?
I don't know.
All right. Either way.
Yeah, either way.
Johnny Dim.
That's me.
How did you feel? And so we're going to do our letter best for this segment to be non-spoilers, and then we'll do a spoiler version, and I don't know, maybe tweet out to everybody, like, because it's a live show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll say that we'll do a spoiler version, and we'll talk for when we start doing spoilers. We'll start a timer, and we'll talk no more than 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think a lot of what I have to say about this movie doesn't have anything to do with getting into spoilers whatsoever.
I don't think we need to.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Okay. So, Johnny Dim.
That's me.
Non-spoilers.
Non-spoilers.
How did you feel about this movie?
I thought it was... I think DC executed on the plan that we knew they were going to do.
To make a movie.
To make a movie...
They did do that.
That is very different than Justice League, Batman vs. Superman, and the first Wonder Woman. A lot more color on the screen, I think.
A bit.
When you got the cityscapes at night, yeah, that was... I mean, it seemed a little like some of the background was dark, and when they went to the... What do they call that? The Stone of Eternity or whatever it was called. Like, it was really dark in there. But overall, I think there was more color.
I thought, like, all the other stuff is, like, super, like, sepia tone, and this one is really washed out. Like, it's very cold, very cool looking colors on the screen.
What I'm wondering is if they choose... I mean, they have to do this in post where they're... Because there's a lot of CG effects in this movie, so I'm wondering if they just change the color to better blend with the CG effects.
That's a definite possibility.
Yeah, that's just a theory.
Like, as early as, like, the Matrix, they were choosing, you know, final filters for stuff just for aesthetic purposes. Like, the Matrix is all green,
right?
Because of old monitors and stuff like that. That's kind of when it started.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to give you my score up front.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to give it my score. It's going to be slightly different than yesterday. I'm going to give it a 76 out of 100.
Didn't you give it a 75?
74.
Okay, Johnny.
Yes.
Before anything else, I need to know where those 2 points came from. Before anything.
I just felt, after thinking about it, I felt that this movie is going to do very well. My score is probably going to be well under what the averages are. And I felt like it deserved a little better because even though it wasn't, probably in the long term, this is not going to be one of my favorite comic book movies, it is going to be important to the history of video game movies, so I bumped it up a little bit.
Video game movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, comic book movies. There's got to be at least one video game of Shazam, right? I can't remember one.
Shazam appears in Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
Does he really?
Yes, he does.
Oh, man. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, wait, he's in all the Injustice games, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
With his stupid hood.
Yeah.
God.
I felt... Go ahead.
Why does he have a hood?
I don't know.
Why
does Superman have a cape?
He has the strength of Hercules. His head.
To be honest,
his head isn't going to get chilly.
The real reason I think he has one is just I think they. Oh, he didn't. He did not have one in the early comics.
No, he wore a half cape.
I think it was just that. I think probably at the time when they switched it, they just wanted him to be separated from Superman a little bit.
But that was like 5 years ago. No joke.
No, I know.
It was pretty much just.
I know. I think they were trying to make him his own. Like I didn't think they were just trying to separate him even more.
He's already crazy different from Superman.
I know that. I know that. But I think they just wanted him to physically look different.
I think they were adding hoods to a lot of people.
At the time, they were.
All Willis Nillis, like the Arrow.
Yeah.
Which is, he's got to be the one that looks the stupidest for having a hood added to him. No. Oh, okay, toss up. Green Arrow and Robin. Robin got a hood.
That's right, he did.
Why?
No reason. But anyway, back to my thoughts on it. So I think that we all knew that DC was trying to go a little lighter in mood. They were trying to get...
Which they did successfully with Wonder Woman.
I wouldn't say that was a great execution as far as that particular principle went. I think it was still a pretty dark movie.
It was just in sepia tone.
No, I'm not saying physical. I'm saying lighter as in lighthearted.
Right, but what I'm saying is that I think there's a possibility that perceptions about that movie get switched because it's all muddy like the other ones. But it's a cutesy movie.
Sure, I think Shazam is definitely an obvious big shift.
It's funnier.
It's a lot funnier, and I think that's what they wanted to do. They saw that they're making. I'm not going to say that they think they were making errors, but they were making errors in that they were not making movies that everybody loved, and they could see. Well, I mean, it's obvious how they felt about it because they fired.
Henry Cavill?
Nope. Henry Cavill left.
James Harden?
No.
Mr. T?
No.
No, now I'm confused.
It's on the tip of my tongue, but the guy who directed.
I'll bet he's on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah, you know it. The guy who directed Batman vs Superman.
Henry Winkler?
All right, we'll go with Henry Winkler. Scott Snyder.
Scott Snyder.
Scott Snyder.
Did they fire him? I thought he had a personal tragedy.
That's the reason they gave for him stepping away from the end of Justice League. But then they didn't ask him back. They stopped his vision at that point, and they completely went different. And they gave us the atrocious Aquaman. I did not like Aquaman.
Who did Aquaman?
I don't know who did that one.
Was it one of those things where like for some reason they have to have individuals who are like very closely associated with the theming?
Oh, maybe.
So like it's just like a free diver, like they got to direct it or something like that.
Maybe.
Because that's the latest thing.
Yeah, I don't know. But the execution on this was really good. It was a fun movie. It was funny. I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest turnaround, or the biggest thing that stands out is the humor in it. I thought that Zachary Levi did an amazing job as Shazam.
Uh-huh. I'm kind of guessing on that name.
No, that's right.
It is? Okay.
Yeah. I think the performances were good. I thought they had a good message. I thought they had. It's a movie that's going to appeal to a lot of people. That what they did is they basically adjusted their aim with this movie because like I said, it's very different from the Justice Leagues and all that. And they kind of borrowed and saw what Marvel was doing. They saw how Deadpool did. They saw how all these other comic book movies were doing. And I think they borrowed a little bit of the strategy and they just went that direction. And it worked. It landed. And they're...
Well, okay. You believe it's going to land.
I looked at some reviews today, and it's already landing.
With critics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I like how many theaters did it open in?
A lot.
It did?
Yeah, even though it's not supposed to come out until like April 5th, I think.
This is the strangest you know what? This is like a long tail movie strategy, which you don't see a lot of.
It is. I think they're trying to get a lot of buzz going early on.
Well, like literally like tens, possibly even 100,000 people seen it so far.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people have seen it.
So like it's not so much generating buzz, it's like just making the length of time that your movie is out longer. Basically, they're trying to do 2 premieres.
I think so.
Which like isn't a bad move.
Right. I think it might end up working. I mean, everything I've seen from this movie and what their strategy has been about this movie so far, especially the marketing and everything, I think it's working. I think it's doing great. I think it's gonna appeal to a lot of people. And I told you this last night, like I said, and I said it again today. I don't think this is gonna be one of my favorite movies, but I can see what they're doing, and I think it's gonna work out.
That brings me to my next question, actually.
Yeah.
Like you've got nothing but positive things to say about this movie. Mm-hmm. So why is your score so average? Like what brings it down so far?
Some of that's my
C student.
Some of that's my own personal taste. Because although I can appreciate this movie for what it will be and what it will be to audiences globally, personally, it's not the direction I kind of want DC to go. And the execution was not flawless. There are flaws in the movie, but I think the overarching impact of it is going to be good. Mm-hmm. So that's just like I said, like we were talking about some nitpicky things last night about some of the kid actors,
which are intimately involved in the story.
Yeah, but there is some stuff that I think. Like most people, I think is going to be overlooked. I don't think anyone's gonna really say I don't like this movie because of this.
I think this movie is largely going to be overlooked in general because it's Shazam, it's not Batman, it's not Superman, it's not Wonder Woman, and like that, like brand recognition counts, and like
which I think which you can tell because they're marketing it so heavily, like because they know nobody knows who Shazam is.
How heavily are they marketing it?
I'm seeing it everywhere.
Because you look
now,
at like a character like Captain Marvel, for example, which this technically is Captain Marvel.
Right, the two Captain Marvels, yeah.
Yeah. So you look at Marvel's Captain Marvel, and like that's a nobody character.
True.
But their media push was huge. Like I think they had something in Rolling Stone and like another real magazine. I don't know if it was Time, but like it's a magazine like Time.
Is it Entertainment?
It may have been Entertainment.
Entertainment did a big thing on Shazam too.
They did. Okay, so they've had a similar media push.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's possible that these two unknown characters could have a similar. Similar return.
Going the unknown character route is not a bad idea. I mean, even Iron Man wasn't huge when his first movie came out.
Iron Man was anticipated because, like, Iron Man was garnered a lot of popularity, and I've mentioned this several times, so I don't know why you would say something like that, because you know better.
Do I?
Yeah, like that was so. The comic book movies were a lot smaller, and so comic book fans were still like coming out to see them.
Sure.
Which a lot of comic book fans like kind of stay away because they're either boring or they don't make sense with the character or stuff like that. But like it was like a big thing because we're getting another what looked to be a very good comic book movie after having some really bad comic book movies,
Sure.
and it was really good. But Iron Man was all a buzz because this wasn't soon after the Ultimates universe launched in the comics.
Sure.
And Ultimates was right out. I believe it was right after Civil War. So we had Civil War, which is a huge event. Comic book fans loved it, and then we had Ultimate Avengers, and then so like suddenly Iron Man's big business as far at least in the minds of comic book fans, and then we get the movie.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is I think it's a good time to start exploring superheroes that are not as well known because comic book
cheaper.
they're cheaper, but comic book movies as a whole are like a thing now, and you've already gone through all the big ones. Like so, people are obviously open to celebrating the ones that are less known. Deadpool did have a following. I'm not saying he didn't.
Yeah, a really
but
big one.
he had a big one before the movie, but that movie did insanely well.
Yeah.
Not just fans of Deadpool came out to see it.
The thing is that like when you make a really good movie like Deadpool, the word of mouth works.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, he had some of that stuff going for him for sure, but then Black Widow's a big deal, Hawkeye's a big deal, like all these characters that are just even B characters.
I think I would straight up skip a Hawkeye movie.
I would too,
Yeah.
because I still don't think he's that interesting, especially the way Jeremy Renner plays him. But there still is going to be a Black Widow movie.
You know, the way Jeremy Renner plays him, I don't know if that's such a big deal.
I think
it's
he's
that
terribly boring.
They take everything that's interesting about Hawkeye away.
Yeah, they do.
He's a former circus performer,
Right.
And he's also a former criminal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he should be able to do like mean street stuff and have like contacts. You know, maybe even make him a little edgy with like give him a drug problem or something.
Sure.
Actually, you know what? Part of him in the comic books is that he gets hurt all the time.
Ooh,
like
yeah.
often to the point where people are like, oh, he'll never be Hawkeye again because he got hurt too bad.
Right.
Like one time he literally got like shot like 23 simultaneously, not in a row. 23 bullets entered his body all at once from like varying angles, and they're like, oh, he'll never be Hawkeye again. There's no way because he's a normal dude.
His superpower is just not giving up.
It's actually, I think that he has. I think that he has superior regenerative capabilities, not in speed, but in completion.
Right.
Like he completely heals.
Very effective healing.
Yeah, where if you were to like fall off a motorcycle,
Right.
like you'd be changed for life.
Yeah.
Hawkeye wouldn't necessarily be.
Right. It might take him a while, but he'll get back to full 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough about Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Should we go to your review?
I don't think there's a reason. No.
I think we should.
Okay. I think this is the least necessary movie, the least necessary superhero movie to see.
You said that earlier. I was waiting to hear your
Ever.
explanation of that.
Okay, so just as a movie, interestingly enough, it gets the same score that the other Captain Marvel movie did,
Okay.
which is a 6.5, 65% out of 100, if you like.
I do like that.
Or I would give it an A out of Shazam.
Right.
A being the third letter.
Okay.
So
the S would be 100.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's Achilles
I think so.
because he has the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Heracles, and the bravery of Achilles. Or was he? No, it's bravery because, like, Achilles wasn't bulletproof. Like, fate conspired for him not to get hurt.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, this it's an average. Actually, it's a below average movie. Like lots of parts of it are really funny, but the performances are just lacking, and the script has first draft written all over it.
You think the performances, even the leads?
No.
Leads were good.
Zach Levy and
I thought the two lead kids were good too.
wait. You talking about Justin Bieber?
Yeah.
His name is like Chris Angel or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
No,
but the guy who actually played Billy Batson and then his foster friend,
Yeah,
Freddie.
yeah. Foster friend.
I thought
Freddy.
those two were great.
Foster friend Freddy is an excellent performer, but he, like a lot of the other kids, are way overridden.
Okay.
They've got way too much crap to say. Zach was charming all the way through. Zach Levy was fun. The thing is that there's a huge disconnect between the childlike persona that Zach Levy has and the childlike person that Chris Angel is. I'm just gonna call him Chris Angel.
I'll look it up so we get it right at least once.
Okay. Like there's a huge disconnect, and at first I was like, okay, so he's a little different because he's got the wisdom of Solomon. But like by the end of it, like he's he's selfish, and he's wasteful, and he's devil may care, and like he's not showing the wisdom of Solomon. He's a kid, and the interesting thing about it is that he seems like he's drunk. Like okay.
Yeah, I think he's power drunk.
Now, in movies, like they say, "Oh, when you're drunk, you sound like this, partner." But that's not what people are like when they're actually drunk. Like they're just loud and they have no filter.
Sure.
And sometimes they get a word wrong, unless they're just gone. And he seems drunk through this whole thing.
No, I kind of noticed that too. I know exactly what you're talking about. But.
Asher Angel.
Yeah. And I excused it after a while after I thought about it because the two, I'm trying to imagine that character all of a sudden in that body, all of a sudden being Shazam. And I was like, no, he probably would be overly excited. He probably would be a little out of it, like saying crazy. Like he's going to be very different because he's all of a sudden a superhero.
Well,
I would act insane. I would be like, what? What is this?
Well, I mean, as Billy Batson as a character, Angel Asher Angel. Yes, Asher Angel. Okay.
And Freddie was played by Jack Dylan Grazer.
His as a character, he had a laser-like focus on finding his mother.
Correct.
And yet, with all of this power, he pursued that none.
Literally would his
none.
power? I know. I would be distracted. Wouldn't you?
No, because I'd have the wisdom of Solomon.
But he was. But he was also told. Oh, I'm sorry. No, he wasn't told. He finished his list. He already looked for all the Batsons in the phone book that he could find.
Okay.
He was done.
Right.
He thought that she was gone.
And the amazing thing about that is that what. Okay, actually, that's getting into spoiler territory. I'm not going to do that yet. But it doesn't make any sense because of the internet. I'm just going to say that. It doesn't make any sense because of the internet. And he's obviously a very modern superhero.
Okay.
But aside from it,
but he's also basically 15.
Yeah. Aside from it being a very mediocre movie. It's funny in some places, but it has the same problem that The Mask had with Jim Carrey, is that it's only fun when you have the CG character playing around and telling jokes and stuff. Apart from that, why I say it's the least necessary movie, superhero movie for you to see ever, is actually because of Henry Cavill.
Because he wasn't in it?
Exactly. This movie is...
Henry Cavill plays Superman.
There's no stakes as far as the larger story of the MCU, the DC
Extended Universe,
DCEU. There's no larger stakes. We're just introducing this character, and also we're in a huge transitional phase in the DC universe, and this isn't kicking off phase 2. This is like barely hanging on to phase 1, which is dying, which you can see because, and this isn't much of a spoiler, but you see the Henry Cavill costume in this.
Yes.
But not Henry Cavill's face. He's got nothing to do with the plot. Don't worry, it's not a real spoiler.
Right.
It's an Easter egg, if anything. So you see his costume.
But he's not in it because he originally was going to be in it.
Yeah.
This is when their salary dispute happened, and that's why Henry Cavill should not be. I don't think he will be playing Superman anymore.
Which he ginned up that whole salary dispute because he wanted out, because he was done with it.
Yeah, he did it. He's done it 3 or 4 times.
Well, he was done making bad movies.
They're not all bad.
He's been in all the bad ones.
I don't think they're bad.
You don't think Man of Steel's bad?
I thought it was all right.
Ugh, Man of Steel's bad. Man of Steel's a bad movie.
I got bored once during the movie, but then during the extended fight scenes, I got bored with that.
Movies oughtn't do that to you.
I agree, but there are movies who bored me throughout the entire length of the movie. This one only bored me in one little section.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, just really, really rough scripts. Kid actors who weren't allowed to. Okay, it's the little girl. The little girl. She's like way.
You sure you want to dump all over the little black girl?
I do. No, she's way overridden. And
I hope she's not watching. I'll say that.
Okay, if you're watching, you're charming, and you are very promising as an actor. You did very well. The script failed you. The script failed you because it gave you too much business too quickly, and it didn't establish you as a character so much as it established you as a mouthpiece for this extremely wordy script. Kids do their best when they're allowed to play in their environment, not when they're given monologues.
I think that depends on the actor, but I'll say this: I think you're charming, and I think that the rest of the most of the population that sees this movie is going to find you charming. You're a great piece of this movie, and it was just fine.
I think it's going to have a mass appeal.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's very good.
I know. I understand that. I just don't understand what was so bad about it. I really have no clue. Because I mean, for this,
grown some jokes.
The type of movie that this is, it did it well. I think for the type of movie they were going for,
no, it didn't.
It worked.
Like, okay, should we get into spoilers?
Yeah, we can get into spoilers.
Okay, so we need to start a timer. We're not going to talk more than 10 minutes. Because we shouldn't, if somebody wants to avoid spoilers, because this movie hasn't technically come out yet. So we're going to hit a timer, and you come back in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Don't set it to 30 seconds. We're going to shut up as soon as that goes off. You come back in 10 minutes and 30 seconds.
Starting now.
Okay. So, spoilers. This movie has to do with this incredibly undercooked villain named Dr. Zhivago. Didn't bother to learn his name. Didn't have a cool superhero name.
Yeah. No, you're right. He was underplayed, but I think that would actually end up being a good thing.
He's got this lame plot that has to do with the 7 deadly sins, which were kept right next to the only power source.
Dr. Thaddeus Savannah.
Dr. Thaddeus Savannah. And is he technically the Black Adam? I don't think he is.
No.
The Black Adam has a more Arabic name.
No. I'll give you some insight later, but there was actually 2 digital comics that came with the tickets I bought.
Okay.
And they explain a little. I think I'm not sure if it's him, but it's the other Easter egg at the end of the credits.
Mm-hmm.
I can. There's a little bit going on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but he's got this thing where like he's the seven deadly sins. They're demons. They're demons that live inside of his eyeball, and they live right on top of the Rock of Eternity, which is the only thing that could bring them back. And how we get explained all of this is that they have like this pointillism light art that like is like a 3D effect, and it's like, look, the seven deadly sins. Isn't this a compelling scene that I'm showing you with stupid light? The seven deadly sins. It was Shazam's fault. He let him loose.
Okay.
And like it's just like I said, it's first draft stuff, like first idea. Who will Shazam fight? The seven deadly sins. Why? What does magic have to do with Catholicism? Because the seven deadly sins are not some universal truth. They're real specific to Catholicism.
Sure, but comic book movies borrow from mythology of different types all the time.
No, I get that.
And Catholicism is a type of that.
Why?
Sorry.
Why Catholicism? Why Catholicism and then never mention it again? You know.
Well, I mean, you can.
That's that's a Hellboy plot right there.
You can make but you can also make the argument that the seven deadly sins of the Catholic Church were inspired by the demons themselves. I don't know. I tried.
If you want to explain the movie on behalf of the movie instead of letting the movie explain itself, sure. Also, the seven.
It's a comic book movie. I don't understand why we need to explain it all that much.
Because it's a plot. If you're gonna give a plot, you got to explain it.
Yeah, there's demons. Those are the demons. He's got to fight the demons. That's all the explanation you need.
Also, why are they all King Kong? Like every single one, the seven deadly sins are personified. He doesn't release.
They're not all King Kong.
A malaise, like they're literal demons.
Gluttony was not. Neither was envy.
They were all basically King Kong.
Right.
They're all and they were all Mortal Kombat monsters. Like.
Well, they're all cut from the same cloth. They're sins.
If you want to look at like that done really well, look at Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay.
Because like.
I won't, but okay.
They like. The seven deadly sins, like lust, for example. You should be able to tell lust right off the bat.
Sure.
The only one you can really tell is gluttony.
Okay.
Because he's like he looks like Oogie Boogie.
Are you talking about in this movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only one you can actually tell. The dragon one, there's a dragon one.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one it is.
One
Pride, maybe.
One is just King Kong.
Yeah.
One is just Goro from Mortal Kombat. You know?
Yeah.
And one's Oogie Boogie. So, like, they were actually creatively, this movie was a little bankrupt.
Okay.
And, like, we throw in the seven deadly sins for no reason. His powers don't make a lot of sense. I don't know why it wasn't Black Adam. Like, Black Adam...
Oh, the villains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's the other side to that coin.
Right.
You know?
Well, originally when they were going to do this movie, they were going to do Black Adam.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know why they didn't.
Because
probably The Rock was too busy.
You can get not The Rock.
I know, but he was going to... But they may be saving him for another movie, which would be interesting.
Any other wrestler. Hornswoggle.
Randy Savage. No, he's dead.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
I don't think he's in fighting shape if he's still alive.
Actually, he's the last time I saw him wrestle was on an episode of We Need to Be Looking at the Timer.
Oh. Yeah. Spoil away.
Yeah.
For another 5 minutes.
The last time I saw Hacksaw Jim Duggan was actually on an episode of Duck Dynasty.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was wrestling.
Okay. What else do you want to spoil?
Okay.
And complain about?
Actually, the one thing I found, not the one thing I found charming about this movie, I found a lot of parts of this movie funny. But I did... although I, as a comic book fan, found it very predictable, the inclusion of the Marvel family.
I missed that. Oh, the Marvel family, as in I gotcha.
Yeah, all the kids get powers.
Yeah. I like that too, because that is in the comics.
Yeah, and it was cute and it was fun and like it wasn't a bad way to. It actually wasn't a bad way to solve the problem because. Billy was way over his head with Dr. Zhivago. Mm-hmm. And once he released the demons, he was completely outnumbered.
Yeah.
And so then he was like, oh, I open my heart and I give the powers to Shazam. That's what happened to me. Maybe if I open my heart, then everybody will get powers. Which sets a dangerous precedent.
It does.
If he cares about anybody, he can make them Captain Marvel.
Correct. But he's got the wisdom of Solomon.
Right. But the Captain Marvel powers will only be transferred to the pure of heart, so he can just judge people.
Sure.
Decide to open his heart to
That
him,
would be a good
and then
alternate
just
universe.
I
would love that. I would love that to be an alternate universe.
Now, why I mention it is because there is something that falls flat.
What's that?
The cliches. Like literally the phraseology of this movie, it's not cliche enough.
Okay.
Like sometimes in a movie you give a cliche to give a poignance to something because everybody's heard the phrase before. And you like it'd be like a guy standing over another guy with a gun, and he's like, "You'll never get away with this." Like, never say never. Blah, you know.
Sure.
And you say these kind of things because everybody's heard them. This movie says these things. They say things like this in a cadence of a cliche, but like they're not sayings. Like my favorite one was like, "What's the point of being a hero if you can't save your own family?" Like it's not a thing.
No, he made up his own thing.
Right.
This is motivation for doing stuff.
But that wasn't really like. But he said it like it was a cliche.
He
like,
didn't.
Yes, he did. He absolutely said it was like a.
No,
cliche.
it's just something he believes.
like the phrasing of it, how it was used was just way off.
Okay.
And it wasn't the other time it was like it's like family is about being in a group home. Something like that.
Okay.
All right.
All right. No, I don't know. I don't know what else to say because it's just the movie. Like all the things you're complaining about are like things that are easily just
Ignorable?
ignorable.
I shouldn't have to ignore large swaths of the movie to enjoy it.
Those aren't large swaths of the movie, and those aren't even that big a deal at all.
The plot isn't a huge deal?
Because you're complaining about the plot in its entirety. Yeah.
Clock, we're close.
Okay.
Take the clock. Yeah, I am complaining about the plot in its entirety.
No, you weren't. You were getting very nitpicky about certain things about it.
Like the villains and why they're attacking.
It's a misnomer. You're
no, I hated
you're exaggerating.
No, I hated the overall plot too. The whole Seven Deadly Sins thing. I hated it.
That's not the whole plot.
Yes, it is.
No, it wasn't.
That's the bad guy plot.
That's the bad guy plot, not the whole plot.
The whole reason for the conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the conflict.
That's the plot.
That's a big part of it. But there's other things that happen. There are other things that are part of the plot.
We introduced the character. He finds his mom, which actually
that was good.
Him finding his mom was good.
Yeah.
That was a good scene. Staged really weird. Like there was so much tension, which actually that worked for. There was so much tension in that scene because they're like just in a hallway.
Right.
Like, and she's already late for work. There's some
her boyfriend's
asshole
yelling at her.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like everything was just tense, and so that worked really well. Possibly the only thing it did. You have 50 seconds.
Yeah. So, and I'm not even gonna really spoil anything. So what I'm saying is, what you're complaining about, as far as those three, I give you that some of those are problems, especially the villain. The villain was not as grand or whatever. But I think a lot of the introductory comic book movies that we have, they're introducing characters like Shazam to the world. Mm-hmm. They're never on a larger scale, and I think it would have been worse if we were on a world-saving scale. So I understand there are probably better plots that could have gone with villain plots. Which is, I agree.
It doesn't have to be. It's not the scale,
right? But I'm glad. What I'm saying is, I'm glad they didn't do that scale.
No, what I'm saying is that it's the theming and overall quality. How about a villain that we either like or are intimidated by? How about some originality when it comes to actually?
Shazam dies at the end.
Yes, Shazam dies at the end.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, actually, one of them does.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one of them dies like towards the beginning.
Yeah.
Because that's the wizard's name.
That's true.
Yeah.
Although I don't think we've seen the last of him. That's a theory.
You can't, because that's the guy who just pops up in every comic book movie.
Right. This is his fourth. That actor. That's his fourth comic book movie.
I call him Horton.
No one knows how to pronounce his name.
I call him Horton because like everybody knows who this guy is. He's the guy.
Digimon Hanzo.
He's the guy in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 who goes, "Who?"
Yeah.
So I call him Horton. Because Horton hears a who.
Just to put a cap on it.
All right.
Where you think this is the most unimportant, I think you said?
It's the least, like, movie, like, everything is a franchise now.
Yeah.
And they're banking on the lesser known characters like Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, Shazam. Part of the marketing strategy is if you want the full story, you better see every movie. But there's no story for Shazam to tie into anymore. It would have been easier for them to say, kicking off the new DC universe. That would have been the thing to do, and they didn't. They actually reference what's going on right now. And so this is a movie that is in danger of losing all relevance to the franchise it's associated with.
I wasn't listening. I just wanted you to re-say that one line again, and then you just went off on a thing. I'm saying you were saying it was the most. You can skip it, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Where I would counter that and say this is actually one of the most important movies going forward for the DC universe because it is that point that they're pivoting. This is the pivot point. I think. It is. As far as the tonally where they're going, and I think that we're going to see something completely different from here on out. Some may see that. Some may say that was Aquaman. Whatever. I'm gonna get so tired. I'm gonna have such mixed feelings about the DC EU moving on.
But there's a way to fix it, and you know what? I think I'm gonna say it at every opportunity.
Okay.
Flashpoint paradox.
Yeah.
This was an idea that came from Jeremy. And the Flashpoint paradox has to do with the Flash traveling back in time, changing something about his past,
right?
And then he alters the future to the point where it's barely recognizable, and then he and Batman have to fix that problem. And what's left over after fixing that problem is it's what we know the DC universe to be, but it's inherently different,
right?
And so that would be the obvious thing, but we actually had an idea last night. Is that they could do a Crisis on Two Earths, where the two Earths are like battling against one another, and like there's another version of Superman and there's another version of Batman because there's two actors that we have to get rid of and stuff like that. And then we have like Wonder Woman and Aquaman and Shazam on this side, and they go on an adventure together, and the Crisis actually crunches down the two realities to one. So we're stuck with this new Superman. We're stuck with this new Batman.
Right.
You know, and that could actually be interesting.
It would, but then you have to have... That
would be a pivot point for this franchise.
Sure. But anyway, that's my thought on it. I think it's a lot more important than you give it credit. But that's it. We can move on.
Warlocks.